Welcome to Beers with Bucks, where we tell you about our finances, which is no fun for anybody, so we throw in some beers.
This week it's Kentucky Vanilla Barrel Cream Ale. Hints of vanilla.
Ooh, good action shot, babe.
Cream with a little bourbon undertone, because it's...
Beers with Bucks.
Oh, I meant like cured in bourbon barrels. And now you say beers. And then I say, with bugs.
So it's beers
with bugs. Oh, man. So we like to use a budgeting app, and one of the apps that we're currently using is Mint. Not to be confused with Mint Mobile, which we will talk about in a second. Mint is just a software that has a lot of different tools.
So without further ado, we'll hop into Mint. And like Michelle said, there's like a ton of stuff in here, but we're really only going to focus on transactions and budgets. So I've actually already gone through and put in most of our transactions and basically just categorized them. And the nice thing about all of these apps is that they just go ahead and put your budget together for you. Well, we kind of made the budget ahead of time. It does the busy work.
By it does the busy work, what Ryan's saying is that once you put it in a category, it will tell you if you've gone over or under or if you're on point for your budget.
Looking at this month, there's a few areas where we clearly went over. It makes it nice and red for you. Internet, we found out they actually started charging us a little bit more. So we did spend $70 this month instead of $54, which is what it normally would be. Our mobile phone was a little bit over, but that was just because we're actually transitioning from our old provider to a new provider, and we're going with Mint Mobile, which Michelle referenced earlier. And they have you pay 3 months at a time. Then utilities were a little bit more, probably because it's winter, but that is something to consider because we've got a couple more months of this.
Yeah, and we recently did some heat protecting. I don't know what to call it. Like, we did like the clean film. And you can have my fun little sound effect. But that has helped, and it hasn't been as cold.
And then we did go over a little bit in groceries that we're at $358 out of $200, which is quite a bit over. And I think part of that I know is due to the fact that we bought a lot right at the end of the month because Michelle was going into surgery, and we wanted to make sure we had enough food around depending on what she was going to want to eat and that kind of thing. So we stocked up, and that has lasted us into January already. Yeah, so all that to say, I think we're going to shoot for keeping with our $200 budget in groceries for next month, but we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we do better.
With groceries, I'm considering doing like a plan with me later on in the year. So if that's something that would interest you on like meal plans, because we strive to only spend $200 a month or $50 a week for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. I have been guilty of planning everything except for snacks, and Ryan brought it to my attention. And so that's something else that we needed to have. So just so that everyone's aware, like if that's something that you're like interested in, let us know in the comments below.
Restaurants, we went quite a bit over.
Yes.
The next thing is charity. We did go a little over in charity. This one's a little bit more calculated because it all just auto drafts out of our account. Which you may ask Michelle and Ryan, if it auto drafts out of your account, how did you go over in this budget area? And that was my fault. We had kind of redistributed how we were giving to different charities, and unfortunately we did have to drop one, and I just never dropped it until today. So I will not be coming out next month. And we did things a little squirrely in December because we set our budget up for January, but we weren't quite there yet in December. So because of all of Christmas that had to happen and a lot of giving that we weren't quite ready to give up yet, we decided instead of putting all of the money towards debt yet.
Extra money.
Right. We will be tackling easy for me to say. We will be tackling debt much more aggressively now in January than we did in December because we wanted to put that extra money towards giving. Gifts for Christmas. So anyway, all that to
Towards
say,
giving gifts for Christmas.
so
Ooh, find your period. Say it with me, class.
Oh yeah, I knew you're the only one that needs to say that. We'll go watch this later, and you'll see finding periods.
Find your period, class.
Anyway, I'm gonna drink my beer.
You drink beer so funny. You like hold your mouth open on the bottle.
How do you drink beer? You drink it with your mouth closed? It spills all over you? Go for it. Let's see it. Let's see you drink that beer with your mouth closed.
Oh, man.
So, in the areas of home saving and debt payment, unfortunately not other, that's where all those were actually Christmas gifts and other Christmas expenses. So
what
technically,
the hell is this?
Yeah, we're about to get to that. That is exactly what it looks like, is what that is. And I looked at, and actually, yeah, we should pull it up. Before we do, so home saving, I should have moved a little bit of that money over to the debt payment. So you notice debt payment is a little low, home saving is a little high. That's just because all of the gifts went into both of those buckets, and so I just didn't arrange them correctly.
Do you want to explain why that is, though? Because essentially the goal is to save. We're saving $10,000 and we're paying down debt aggressively. So what we decided to do for the month of December was use that money to go to Christmas gifts.
Right.
And postage.
The biggest red flag, I think, this month was our other category, where we spent over $1,000 and budgeted $100. And you would say, Ryan and Michelle, what large things did you buy this month that cost that much money?
I would love to know.
Well,
we do have the dog bill on here. That was an unexpected expense from my surgery.
Start. Okay. Hello. Turns out that I'm already in, what do they call this? Post-op? I'm in post-op. And I got to keep my fallopian tube. Look at those ugly zits, though. Pretty gross. But I get to see you soon. That's cool. I just wanted to tell you myself. And we'll talk all about the things later. I get to have a tea very soon, and I'm proud of that. Can't wait to see you. Bye, friend.
I needed someone with me for 24 to 48 hours at all times. I needed help getting to and from anywhere, sitting up, anything like that, which meant the dog needed to be taken out. So my parents lovingly gifted us for Christmas what we paid essentially for his walks. My parents paid for. They sent us a check. So it will kind of balance itself out. We knew that it was going to come out first, and we, I think, deposited it today.
I'm seeing a couple things that really were part of Christmas, and there was a little bit of room in that area of the budget. So maybe we didn't go quite as over like this one here. So we might be a few $100s off there, but a lot of this stuff, honestly, is little things. Just small things along the way that have added up to a lot of money. So, that said, that's something that we're going to keep our eye on much more closely in January. I do think December is a hard month. That's my excuse.
Not an excuse. And we do stay tuned, because we will have more videos to come all about how we are not going to do the same thing next year and how we have a plan. We have a plan. So just know we have a plan.
So, auto insurance, we were pretty spot on. Of course, that's something we can calculate. Gas, we were a little under. So, yeah, and then service and parts. We did spend $92 on service and parts. Now, this is something that we actually normally will put $200 into a savings account we have just for that. But there was some stuff I also spent in previous months that wasn't prepared for because we just got married a few months ago. And so we hadn't put this in place yet, so we didn't have money saved up yet. All that to say, when you do all the math and add it all up, we actually have $100 that we're able to transfer into that savings account this month because that $92 cuts into that $200 we would normally put.
Of January.
Right, for January. And then starting in February, we can go back to putting that $200 into that category, into that savings account.
With counseling, I normally go twice a month. This month, just due to it being December, it being everything else going on in the world right now, I only went once. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to move $100 to car maintenance because, like we said already, we've already cut into our $200 last month when I blew a tire.
Normally we would move money into our Christmas fund, but at this point we don't really have room in our budget for that. So instead we're going to be selling some stuff from our storage unit, and that money will be going into that Christmas account to make up for January and probably February as well.
Correct. So we give ourselves an allowance. I think that's the easiest way to say it. Spending money. We each get $50 a month. We have decided that that's something that we need to be able to stay sane during this debt payoff. So we're living very frugally, but we wanted to give ourselves something. That way, if I decide I want a coffee and I'm at work, I live on the other side of work. So it would take me way too long to come home, make a coffee, and then go back to work. Whereas if I really just feel like I need that pick-me-up, I can go to Starbucks, grab a coffee, and it's okay. And I have money that, as long as it's in my budget, it's okay. Or if, like, with any, like, holidays or surprises for the other will come out of those budgets.
The idea is that you would spend some of your money on things you want, but you might forego things that you want so that you can buy your significant other something nicer when that holiday or birthday rolls around. Oh, thank you. Can we have a beer break?
So, like, when you say pay towards credit cards after January?
We will actually be moving the money probably around the last week of the month.
January.
But you guys will see it probably around the first week of the following month. So we did have to dip into our emergency fund. Right when we got married, actually, we honestly spent... I don't know if we necessarily spent more than was in our budget. That may also be true.
No, it was just because like we hadn't blended all of our accounts over yet. But then I forgot all of these extra bills were coming out of my account, and none of my money was going into it. So we were like, ah!
Yeah, getting our finances together when we first got married was tricky, to say the least. And so we did dip into our emergency fund, but thank goodness we have an emergency fund. We were able to use that.
We have the $1,000. We already had that going into our marriage. I think each of us had $1,000, and we combined that to a $2,000 baby fund, emergency fund. We wanted to make sure that we had at least 1 month, and that's roughly 1 month's expenses for us. It would be a tight month, but we could make that work.
So over time, we're going to try to refill that emergency fund just to get it all the way full. Mint Mobile. We mentioned Mint Mobile earlier. So far, Michelle is transferring over to Mint Mobile, and unfortunately, this isn't exactly a budget thing, but it kind of is because we do have to pay for that. But the service, or the SIM card, hasn't arrived yet.
I am going to be activating that as soon as it gets here. Once that is activated, then I will be using that. So, there's that. Chegg.
So yeah, Michelle had previously purchased some gifts from Chegg.
Well, not gifts, they're books.
What did I say?
Gifts.
Some gifts. Had purchased some books from Chegg for school. Or rented them, yeah, but they just need to be returned, and I think we're a little bit late on returning those, but tomorrow...
Because they got taken to our storage unit, so we are going to grab those from the storage unit, get those mailed out, and hopefully that'll be done.
Yeah, so it's on the list of things to do. And lastly, outstanding medical bills. We each came into marriage with a couple medical bills, and so those were on the list. We actually already took care of both of them. One of them, I know the check was deposited. I'm not sure about the other one yet, but those will be done soon.
Yeah. several birthdays. I don't know if you can see this little guy, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 birthdays between our families and our close friends this month alone. We don't want to be complete cheapskates. We're not going to get anyone gifts this year for their birthdays, but we are going to make sure that we send like a nice handwritten letter in the mail, and we want to make sure that we have stamps so that we're able to do that. Another thing, of course, we've mentioned that I previously had surgery. That does mean that we are going to be needing to anticipate that coming in. I have no idea what that's going to look like.
One of the things that we want to do is we are getting one of those stimulus checks in the mail. I'm sure you guys all are getting those
I actually
as well.
already got mine.
There you go. So those we're going to put into our savings account just to have them. Of course, that'll fill up our savings account right there. But we're just going to keep that around. We know all those bills are about to come up. And so those, and I also just found out that I should be getting a bonus from work.
And
That's
I
our
also
board
should be
offering
getting a
that for.
bonus.
So all of that we're gonna just throw in savings just to give us a little bit more to cover that, hopefully. And then
And
I'm
by
also
that,
going to
he's
be
referring to the surgery.
right.
You're not clear.
That wasn't clear. I feel like that was clear.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll also be looking into dog walking to make a little bit of extra money on the side, just so we can be prepared when the surgery bills come up.
Michelle, what will you be doing, you ask? Well, I'll be working on YouTube videos and editing and all of our blog posts, because we do a blog post. The goal is a blog post, social media, and a video each week, which is a lot if you didn't know.
So yeah, we feel like it's just not feasible for both of us to be doing an extra side job and doing YouTube. But if one of us is focusing a little bit more on YouTube and the other person can be focusing a little bit more on side jobs, and hopefully we don't kill each other. And this has been Beers with Bucks.